This is how to deal with large pests in your garden the natural way. By large pests, we're talking about badgers, rabbits, deer, rodents, that kind of thing. Now, larger animal pests can cause absolute devastation if they manage to get into a garden unchecked. Rabbits absolutely adore eating young seedlings. They're particularly fond of leafy greens and they can completely clear a bed overnight. Deer are particularly fond of leaves and tender buds on plants, plus they like to strip the bark from trees. Badgers will dig up soil in search of their favourite food, bulbs and grubs, but they will also down some of their favourite crops as well. They're famous for flattening entire crops of sweet corn in one night. And rodents like rats and mice will nibble seedlings and seeds. They'll also dig up and eat seeds that have been sown direct in the garden, as well as nibbling and damaging stored fruit and veg. They really can cause significant damage in the garden, and they have a habit of returning to a food source once they've discovered its location. So how do you know if you have a problem with large animal pests in your garden? Signs that you have a rabbit problem will be neatly clipped, cut shoots and leaves close to the ground. You may also see their droppings around about, or they do like to dig little shallow holes. Deer will leave ragged, torn foliage, removed leaves or stripped bark, and you may see their hoof prints or droppings around. Badgers tend to leave disturbed soil, flattened crops, and they have a very distinctive paw print. Signs that you have a problem with rodents would be little gnawing marks on fruit and vegetables that have been stored away, direct sown crops never germinating because the seed's been dug up and eaten, or signs of runs, holes and burrows in the soil around the plants. In general, you're looking out for footprints, larger droppings and substantially broken areas of plants. Now, the most effective way of keeping these pests out of your garden tends to be with fencing, with physical barriers. If you're trying to exclude rabbits, you need to make sure that your fencing is buried at least 30 centimetres below the surface of the soil. That's because obviously rabbits are very good at digging holes and they will go straight under a fence that isn't buried deeply. When you're fencing out deer, you can use fencing like stock fencing that has slightly larger holes than rabbit-proof fencing. However, you need to make sure that deer fencing is at least 1.8 to 2 metres high. Deer are fantastic jumpers and they will go straight over anything that's lower than that. Alternatively, you can just fence or net off specific areas of your garden, protecting particularly vulnerable crops. And it's a really good idea to net off fruit bushes and fruit trees. There are a number of natural scent deterrents that you can buy. They're completely natural and safe to use, but they produce a smell that is really unpleasant to that particular animal. Alternatively, you can have a go at making some yourself using a garlic spray. Adding reflectors of some sort to your garden can be a really good way to defend against these pests because the movement catches their eye and they think there's someone in the garden. Consider using wind spinners or old CDs or tinfoil. Companion planting can also be your friend. They're not a fan of very strong, pungent smelling plants like lavender and mint and sage, so planting these around the crops that you want to protect can help to deter them. Sometimes the best approach is to work hand in hand with nature rather than trying to fight it. So if you can create a nature-friendly, wildlife-friendly part of your garden that welcomes these animals in, they may be less inclined to attack your more vulnerable crops. You can fill these areas with wildflowers and sacrificial plants. It can also help to encourage beneficial wildlife into the garden. Things like foxes and owls will predate on rodents and rabbits. If you're struggling with large animal pests, it's a good idea to make sure that you're harvesting really promptly. Waiting too long to bring in your crops can mean that you risk losing them. If you're storing things away, make sure that you do it securely in a rodent-free environment. Suspending certain crops like hanging tomatoes or hanging onion plants can be a great way to make them inaccessible to rodents. And make sure that you're really rotating your crops each year. That way you avoid creating a predictable feeding area for these animals. If you're really struggling, you may want to consider using humane traps. These are traps that will catch the animal without hurting it in any way. You can then release it in a different area, but make sure that wherever you release it, it is at least a mile away from your garden or they will just return. Make sure that you're regularly checking your fences and seal up any holes in things like compost bins and sheds that would allow access. So hopefully this video has given you some tools to deal with larger animal pests in your garden. Happy growing, guys.